The Path.
The Path Bike Shop.
The show is on.
I had the biggest smile on my face.
Taking it to a whole new level.
A pitch and bike shred simulator.
You have like a angry style.
Yeah, we're called Play Hard.
We've had some good times.
Welcome to the Path Podcast. It's May 7th, 2025. My name is Tani. Stoked to be here with Auk.
Same. I mean, I'm stoked to be here with you, not just with me.
Yes.
And everyone, maybe you might notice, we're like on the opposite sides of the table.
I tweaked my neck sleeping on it funny last night.
It really is like changing the side of the bed.
It's weird, huh?
You know, you go to the hotel and you're like, which way is the bed facing? Which side do I normally lay on?
It's weird how habitual that is.
Oh, very much so.
And this
is. Yeah.
Man, you've been doing any good rides?
I have. Okay,
Hilarious.
I'm gonna get over this a little bit. It's like, it's like we're an old married couple.
We've been doing this for 17
Partners.
years.
Yeah, something like that. 14, 13, 14.
Might as well, yeah.
It's a long time. Something like that. Anyways.
More than 10.
Definitely more than 10.
Yeah, not 17.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like 13 or 14 or something. Yeah. So anyways, good rides. Oh my gosh.
I heard about your big ride in the Santa Anas. And yeah. I heard about your gushing review of what trail was it? Tombstone.
Oh man, it is a phenomenal, steep, not chunky, steep technical, but unrelentingly steep.
Are there turns?
With some hard turns at the bottoms of the steep chutes.
Mm-hmm.
Some pretty fast flowy portions of the trail. It's, I think, somewhere between 5.5 to 7.5 minutes moving at a decent clip, and yeah, that's long. You go from Main Divide and you're dropping basically all the way down to the Corona side, and so however long that is, 1.5 miles, 1.25 miles, something like that. And yeah, a lot of steep, unrelenting chutes, cornering, and then that's kind of the top. A lot of those rinse and repeat across little little ridges, continuing down, and then the bottom third is like wooded, kind of loamy, SoCal loamy, through the trees with like bermed corners, single track, very flowy. It's sort of like it is definitely like a particular trail here in Southern California.
That's not here anymore?
That is here.
Oh.
So, but yeah, we ride it, and yeah, it's like 3 times longer than this particular trail I'm thinking about. It's amazing. Flowy.
Is it the trail I recently bent my crank on?
No. But it is the trail that we end up on.
Got it.
And so it's like 3 times as long. And it's like, we don't have Santa Cruz style riding here, but it is through the trees. Yeah, someone's been doing a lot of work out there, fast, flowy.
How long do you think that trail's been there?
Oh, I don't know.
It's somewhat new, right?
It's somewhat new.
Because I haven't ridden it.
Yeah, and it is right at the very top of one of the trails that we used to ride all the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely, obviously took a lot of work to get it done. What's really interesting, I think maybe what might make it not so popular, like all time, is through the winter, I'm going to say probably like end of summer through winter, I hear the poison oak gets really bad because you get to the bottom and there's probably, feels like, I don't know, 5, 7 stream crossings that every one of them you need to get off your bike and walk. And then, at least I do. And then single track between, and I think that whole area gets overgrown with oak to the point you can't ride it, you have to walk it.
That stream's year round? you think?
The stream is year round, I think, and I think the Oak, when it gets really bad, like it only feels like another 5-7 minutes to kind of off your bike, on your bike, off your bike, on your bike to get out back to the climb, the Skyline climb. But you can imagine, I think there are times where you just have to walk it.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of turns people off.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think it's totally worth it.
There's two schools of thought. One is every good ride has a hike-a-bike, and the other is I like to hike, I like to bike. The two combined, I do not like.
Every good ride has a hike-a-bike, and that would definitely be the easiest hike-a-bike you've ever done, except for the potential for it's all downhill.
And you were on your Bullit?
I was on the Bullit.
How awesome.
Oh, my gosh. We haven't talked about the Bullit a lot.
Not much. I went and rode yesterday.
Nice.
And I've been playing with handlebar height.
Ooh.
I had a magical ride yesterday. Like the trails were just normal trails that we ride all the time, but magical.
Wow.
You know when you get to the bottom of a run and you were kind of maybe in the zone or like feeling good and everything feels easy, almost feels like a video game.
Yeah.
Your heart rate stays low.
Right.
Ish.
Right.
And the bike always goes where you thought it was going to go.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get to the bottom and you're kind of like, wow, like that was cool, right? And it's kind of that moment of like everything really kind of came together for me, or like like a kind of like a run with no mistakes or no mishaps and no like sketchy moments and no like moments, but still like a decent clip. The whole ride was like that. There was like this, like this. It was so weird. I don't think I've ever had a ride that felt like that.
Because normally you get on a ride and you might have moments of that in any particular ride.
Right.
But rarely the whole ride is like that.
I felt like the bike never missed a beat. Like there was never an off moment or an off beat or like it was so trippy.
Yeah, we could get into a lot of reasons why that might be.
I know. I think I want to just talk about handlebar height because I'm excited about it now.
Let's.
So every bike I've had lately, 5-10 years, last 5 or 10 years at least, I ran it with kind of the highest bars that I had easily available, or around. A lot of times they come with a 35 mil rise, which until recently was about as high as carbon bars got.
Yep.
And there weren't a lot of aluminum bars higher than that either lately. And all the spacers under the stem.
Okay, right.
So without getting like a weird handlebar, so to speak, because for a while bars higher than 35 were weird.
Right.
I was kind of running the highest setup.
Right.
And depending on fork length and bottom bracket height, that could play out a little bit more stack or a little bit less. Because if you have a lower bottom bracket, the bars are effectively higher for you.
Right, exactly.
And in general, that thing where like, if you all like, just like it with a fork, if you always have the compression all the way off or all the way on, you wonder what it would be like with more or with less.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So my bars were kind of all the way high.
Yep.
And I've been wondering for a while what it would be like to go higher.
Right.
So I put the 55 millimeter rise race face air bars on the Bullit.
Yep.
It came with 35 mil rise bars.
Yep.
And
all the spacers under?
I started with 5 millimeters of spacers on top. So I was effectively raising the bars 15 millimeters from what I had before.
Correct.
And I rode with you, and I think I commented to you it felt too high.
Yeah.
And it was noticeably uncomfortable.
Yeah.
As in a lot of weight on my hands, making my hands sore.
Right.
My shoulders were feeling tension. My neck my body didn't like the position. I was having trouble getting into a position where I naturally was supporting my weight with my core instead of my hands.
Yeah.
Which is just the definition of bad bike fit to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Handling, so that's sitting and pedaling.
Yep.
Handling, it had its moments, but I wasn't like madly in love with it.
Right.
I kind of liked it on the steeps.
Yeah.
and it didn't have any main huge drawbacks for me.
Sure.
And it seemed like it manualed a little better with the bars higher.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that makes sense.
So next ride, I put 5 millimeters of spacers from under the stem on top of the stem. So I went down another 5 millimeters, and my hypothesis was that was not going to be enough.
Okay.
And that it might not even make much difference. But I really wanted to
like incrementally
move through this experiment.
Sure.
So like my plan is to go down again and see if it's better or worse until it gets worse.
Right.
And then go up again until it gets better or worse and find a window that I really like. Right.
Sure.
So 5 millimeters lower. Now I am effectively
20.
15.
50.
So I started out with 35 millimeters in all the spacers.
Yep.
And now I'm at 55 millimeters with minus 10 of spacers.
Yep.
So, 10.
Yep.
I'm at 10 millimeters higher than I was.
Yep.
It was magical. All of that pressure was gone.
Wow.
The handling was just so natural.
Right.
And I didn't have to coach myself.
Yeah.
Like it just happened.
Yeah.
And it manualed even better.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Right?
Yeah. That higher
5 millimeters.
5 millimeters lower manual's better.
Than too high.
Than too high.
I think too high manual is better than too low.
Yeah, I could see that. But there's a like
perhaps
a high point.
It seems.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I'm excited to try a little lower. I'm now almost hypothesizing that I'm going to come back to this height, but I don't want to, poison
over
my
jinx
pool
yourself
too
or
much.
whatever.
I want to try to stay curious and curious and open.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's exciting. It's fun to I think bikes just got a little bit better for me.
Because of the bars.
Quite sure that I like this position better than the 35 mil bars with all the spacers underneath.
Yep.
So 10 millimeters higher than that. I'm quite sure I like
10 mils.
So it comes down to, do I only want to go up 5 mils from that old position, or do I want to go up 10? And on this particular measurement, it seems to me like 5 millimeters turns out. As a bike fitter, I know that a 5 millimeter spacer is something to pay attention to and everything and to experiment with.
Right.
But the experience of going from in pain to happy over 5 millimeters is kind of trippy.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this a little bit because I've been doing the same experiment, except I haven't gone to the 50 or 55 millimeter rise bars because mine came with the 35 mil rise aluminum bars, which we can talk about as well, aluminum versus carbon. It's... So 35 actually is taller. 35 with all the spacers under is 15 mils taller than my previous tallest experience. Although I haven't done the stack height comparison between the Vala and the Bullit, or the Relay and the Bullit. But both my Vala and my Relay have the 20 mil rise bars, I think. But apart from that, you almost think about what might be a natural kind of athletic position on your bike as your bars get higher, and that need to be a little more intentional about weighting the bars. But at some point, the bars become so high that it's near impossible to weight them even with intentionality, right? Just to bookend it, if your bars are here, even if you're standing up.
Auk's got his fist over his shoulders.
Right. So if your hands are here over my shoulders, you can't, even if you're standing up, you can't get to the
You're
right.
pulling down, you're not leaning down.
Exactly. And so I wonder if we're starting to get into that level where a little bit higher is actually putting you too much harder for you to get over that intentional centeredness. Intentional weighting of the bars.
Yeah, in fact, as I was riding the taller setup that was too high for me, I found myself thinking this might work if I had a longer reach.
Right. If your torso might be a little bit longer,
or no, if the bike had a longer reach.
If the bike had a longer reach. Interesting, yeah.
Other thing I really like about these race face aero bars is they come in different widths,
Right.
and each width is tuned for absorption.
That's really interesting.
Right?
So, yeah.
Because
that
if you have
totally
a bar
makes
that's
sense.
tuned for 800 and you cut it to 780, you lost
gonna
a
be
lot of
stiffer.
yield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would love to see the shop get some 760s in stock.
Okay, noted. We definitely don't. Is that a truth?
I'm at least the ones that I looked at the other day. If any of you can zoom in really closely back there,
I'm going to make a note of this.
I think you might have. I think you might even only have 800s, maybe 780s.
Yeah, I ran the 780s. I think we
Okay.
still have more of those.
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who might not know, companies like One Up Carbon, the One Up Carbon bars have a 50 mil rise, but they come at 800, and they aren't necessarily tuned for different widths.
Right, you can cut them, and they're even marked to be cut, but as they get narrower, they get stiffer.
Right. Yeah, and that's really so. What has your experience been apart from the up and down with spacers and the bar height? Performance-wise, stiffness, any noticeable difference? Sweep?
They feel well tuned.
Right.
The sweep and rise, I think, are familiar. They feel familiar. I bet they're the same or within a degree or two.
Similar to like the one-ups.
They definitely aren't like a dramatic sweep of any kind.
Right. I feel like you've been running one-ups.
Yes,
Yeah.
mostly.
Right. And so have I. And so, yeah, that's really. I read about the race face, the RF 55s. I'm eager to try them.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear your feedback. And then the Bullit in general. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. So before we hop off of bars, the GX build on the Bullit comes with a 35 millimeter rise aluminum alloy one up supposedly tuned bar, and I have no doubt that it's maybe however they do it, butted shape, whatever. But I will say that my impressions are that the aluminum bars are definitely past the impact through more.
They're harsher.
They're harsher.
Stingier,
yeah. And what's interesting is it's been so long since I felt like forearm fatigue.
Oh, really?
Like I don't remember even. I mean, I have been riding in the Santa Anas a little bit more, but even on like the Laguna trails, I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting." Like a little bit of fatigue. You can feel like a little bit more soreness, and it could be that the Bullit is just goading me to ride a little faster the whole ride. So across 4,000 feet of climbing and descending, but I can't help but think that it's the difference between aluminum and carbon bars. So, but with that said, I am really, like you said, I'm at the maximum height that I can go, and still am wondering. I wonder what it's going to be like to be a little bit taller.
Wish I was a baller.
I wish I was a baller. So that's kind of where I am on bar height and the Bullit.
It's so weird how, just to compare it to the Vala.
Yep, recapping on that.
On paper, it has 20 millimeters more travel in the
front and rear. No, rear.
It has 20 millimeters more in the rear and 10 millimeters more in the front.
Yep. Comes with
and
the same shock.
0.6 of a degree slacker head angle.
Yep.
They're almost the same weight. My Bullit weighs like 48 pounds.
Yep. Vala weighs about the same.
Like maybe a half pound lighter or something.
Yep.
So on paper, you don't expect them to ride that different. Like a 0.6 of a degree head angle.
Right.
I know I can feel that. I don't expect it to be a huge difference.
10 mils on the front, 20 mils on the back. That could make a difference.
Yeah, it makes a difference. The actual ride is so different.
That is so true.
I think a big part of it is that 10 mils more travel on the front, 20 more on the back, you sag more on the back.
Yeah.
And just back sag is a higher percentage of travel usually in the back too.
Sure.
So by increasing that rear travel, you increase how much you sit into the travel, and that slackens the head angle and lowers the bottom bracket.
That's true
at static or at sagged.
At sagged, right.
Let alone at average ride height, because I think the kinematics are a little bit more plush, like less about ground feel and poppiness and more about tracking and smooth ride.
Yep.
And so that keeps you a little deeper in the travel too. The outcome is you have to ride them like almost a different sport.
Very much so.
Like the Vala, you can ride. You can ride it in a lot of environments. It's very playful, great ground feel, very poppy, turns really good.
Right.
The riding position for me on the Vala, my center of my gravity, like my belly button, is like slightly behind the center of the seat, like a couple inches.
Sure.
Or like a few, maybe not quite that far, but like a few inches behind the bottom bracket.
Sure. A little, right.
On the Bullit, it's directly over the bottom bracket.
Yeah.
And on the Vala, you kind of think about you just kind of like think about turning and it turns. On the Bullit, you have to like commit to that turn and lay it over, like lean it over and like, but when you do,
it's so rewarding.
It is so stable and good. And like the balance, like when the rear tire breaks free is so perfect and it's quiet.
And when the rear tire breaks free, there's, I guess, this predictability, but you sort of once you get used to it, it's coming back.
Yeah.
It never feels like it's gonna go and then just keep going, right?
Right. And if you push into stuff a little more, it likes it.
Right.
Kind of as Alan was saying, if you get kind of aggressive with it, it likes it.
Right.
Alan made this really cool chart. It was the Bullit and some other bikes, and like it was on the left axis was fun, and on the bottom axis was aggression. And so all the bikes were fun, but some were more fun the left side of the chart.
Yeah.
But as you got to the right side of the chart, the Bullit shot up to the top.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good way to
like some bikes you could be less aggressive and still have a lot of fun. But as you get more and more aggressive, the fun increases, but it doesn't increase that as much.
I don't know that aggressive is the perfect word.
Yeah.
Maybe assertive.
Assertive. I could see that.
Assertive and
not confidence.
Proactive.
Yeah, I like that. Proactive. Yeah. So what's interesting? So, getting back to my ride, when I was in band camp, getting back to my Saturday ride. So I had ridden the Bullit, just done a quick shakeout ride, on, it's like Tuesday or Wednesday, and it was like a quick 30-minute ride, 35-minute ride, and I got 2 good up and downs, and and it was everything that I thought it was going to be. It was amazing. And then you and I rode again the next day, and I think we were both feeling pretty like chill on the ride.
Yeah. I had a lot on my mind. I was having trouble getting fully mentally into the ride.
And it was good. Like, and again, it was like an hour and a half, hour and 45. Really good. But it was that thing where when I got done with the ride, I was like, I don't know if I advanced my familiarity with the Bullit.
Right.
And so then we go flash forward to Saturday, and we did almost 7,000 feet of climbing and descending. And so the first was, it was a 1,100 foot climb and descent. That was a warm up, which was cool. And then the second was 2 monkeys. And what was interesting, within the first third of 2 monkeys, it's like, oh, we're getting after it a little bit here. I rode with Eric and Jeff, and I completely missed a corner. It was a little bit of an S on a high speed, a little bit of a ridge, and came, right into a left and just completely blew out the left. So much so I was like, I don't know where I'm going to end up. And then, had to stop. But what that did, I felt like that was the crux move of the entire get to know you on the Bullit. And so I got back up to speed, and I was I was like, no way I'm going to catch these guys. So I'm just going to just kind of get after it and keep up with this, with this gap. And whoa, it was that, oh, I see. This is what the relationship has to be like. Right. And once I made that commitment to it, it was game on for the rest of the day. And the second 2/3 of Two Monkeys was giggles and smiles.
Ride it like you mean it.
Yeah. And I got done. I was like, that's what this bike is. And it was that thing where around corners, breaking loose, letting it break loose and come back. And it was really awesome because climbed back up, and then we dropped Tombstone. And Tombstone, very steep. There's some pretty loose, even on the steeps, there's cornering down these, and then with a hard corner at the bottom. And I was behind Eric and just behind him the whole time and watching him do this like rear wheel drift into like catching and bringing it back and kind of doing that counter steer drift and then bringing it back. I was like, that's what I feel is happening. And that's what's happening. And I was like, this is freaking amazing.
That is cool. That's a good feeling.
That is, it was fantastic. We climbed up, and then we dropped one of the more aggressive trails on that side. And
How are the conditions over there?
They're excellent.
We got to get over there.
And yeah, it's interesting because Jeff was like, it's been years since I rode that trail. Probably the last time I rode was shuttling with you folks.
On Sundays.
Yeah, and that was, it's probably, I feel like 2010
maybe?
Yeah, 15 years. So, just been writing that, and he says like, oh, he's like, it's just, there's some big moves on this. And there are, right? I remember that. We got done with that, and I was like, that is the most fun I've had on this. I was thinking, this bike feels way more capable than the Sundays old.
I think e-bikes have changed your descending though too, and just and something other whatever else.
Right.
But I think e-bikes might have played a role.
Yeah,
because your descending's changed.
I agree. I can agree with that. Yeah, I mean, 170, 170. I have mine actually at 180, 180 on the front.
Mm-hmm.
But 180, 170 that's kind of, what was the Sunday?
200, I think.
200.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
But 26-inch wheels.
Yeah.
Which definitely is like, in a way, a couple inches less travel.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that just amazingly phenomenal. And I've been thinking about this a lot too. I would love to get the Santa Cruz suspension design folks to talk about what the curves look like on brake isolation and other compromises, other like trade-offs they might have had to make with, say, pedaling efficiency on the Bullit versus the Vala in order to get the ride characteristic that they wanted.
Yeah.
Because like what you're saying about this magical time of an entire ride of being in the... Was that on the podcast?
Yes.
Okay. It's magical time of the entire ride being in the zone, being in a like mistake-free, like flowy space. Man, the rear suspension is so appropriately active under braking.
It's very well tuned.
Very well tuned. And I don't think that means it's completely active under braking. I think it means like it's an appropriate amount of tuning.
So you're saying there is some anti-rise.
I think so. And maybe that's by design.
Yeah, we could probably get our hands on the chart curves
and compare them, because I was saying that about the Vala, the anti-rise on the Vala, and it seems to make sense. And this is something the three of us were talking about on the Rise.
I don't think it has. It definitely has a lot less than the old designs.
Yeah.
And
how does it stack up against the Vala?
and what that means is that it's more. The suspension is still working more while you're on the brakes.
Correct.
How does what stack? Oh, the anti-rise.
Yeah, it'd be
I
interesting.
bet you
to
it's
see.
similar. Bet you it's similar.
Similar just because of it's more travel, 20 mils travel. You're deeper in the travel, more sag.
I think both bikes have that really active under braking feel.
Yeah.
To me, I haven't seen the curves, but I would guess that the Vala is a little bit lower leverage throughout the first half of the travel. So more support, more ground feel, more pop,
Sure.
more anti-squat maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. And
Tune for ground feel and responsiveness and pop, and also to keep the rider higher in the geometry for a more agile feel. Because as you sag in, it's you get lower and slacker,
Right.
and planted,
Right. How do you think the Vala, or how do you think the Bullit compares to the Relay?
The Relay has a little bit slacker head angle, not much.
Yep.
I think I can feel that.
Mm-hmm.
The Bullit is quieter
Yeah.
and a little bit heavier. My Bullet's probably 2 or 3 pounds heavier than my Relay.
Right.
They're somewhat similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never rode my Relay with an air shock, and I should.
Right.
I always felt like the coil shock was really, really good
Yeah.
on there, but sometimes it blows through travel for me,
Interesting.
where the air shock on the Bullit doesn't.
Yeah.
And I bet an air shock on the Relay wouldn't too. So it's not a perfect apples to apples comparison for me.
Right.
I do think the Relay rides lighter and feels a little bit more maneuverable.
I could see that. I would affirm that.
And it's not really less stable.
Right.
Maybe partly because of the issues I was having with the coil shock. I think it's a very predictable bike.
Right.
But maybe slightly less predictable.
Yeah.
I also think that there's some other ways in which the comparison isn't fair. Like the new 38 is really good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I'm riding one with the old 38 and one with the new 38. And I don't know if that's a fair comparison.
Okay.
And I will add to that. It seems like everyone needs to run, or a lot of people need to run a little bit less air pressure in the current 38 than it says on the chart.
Oh, interesting.
Like for me, it says to run around 90.
Yeah.
And it felt harsh and I wasn't going through all the travel. I'm running like 85.
Got it. No, I actually don't know the experience because I am running my Zeb with an MRP lift compression damper and a smash pot coil conversion. And so this is the only fork that I've run on the Bullit, and it's the only fork that I ran on the Relay. So, at least I have that to compare the two. I actually really like that fork.
Yeah. So do you have anything to add to the comparison?
Yeah. So I don't know how much I've ridden the relay so little with an air shock. And I know what you're saying about blowing through the mid stroke. I feel like I've had that experience as well. I can't believe how good both the Vala and the Bullit feel with the float DPS shock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, especially it felt that way on the Vala, and it blows my mind on the Bullit how good that shock feels.
Yes. I have the Float X2 on mine, and I think that actually feels even better. But I agree that that shock is impressive on that bike.
Right. Yeah, so I do think it is quieter. I think the motor is quieter, as well as the bike overall is quieter. Like you said, I think you used the word lighter. It rides lighter. The relay rides lighter. I feel that as well. It's interesting. I don't feel that the rear end is as active under braking as the Bullit is. But maybe because they were trying to bring back a little bit of the lightness of the ride characteristic.
Perhaps.
From a capableness perspective, yeah, that relay could take way more than I could give it. So, and it was always happy to reward me for what I could give it. So I don't think there's that difference. Yeah, I think the reach numbers are very similar. I do kind of wish I don't think the Bullit has the ability to put a reach adjusting headset in it.
Do you know the reach on the medium relay?
I think it's like 462 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like somewhere between 460 and 465. I think that's what the Bullit is. Right in there. I don't know. Oh, so are you running your Bullit in high or low?
Right now I'm running it in high.
Yep.
And in the less progressive shock position.
Yep. So I just switched mine to low. I haven't ridden it in low yet.
Do you know how much lower low is in millimeters in bottom bracket height?
Very little.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I think it's like less than half a degree in head angle.
Maybe 5 millimeters or something.
Yeah, maybe. So
I think that's going to affect my spacer situation on the handlebars.
Oh yeah. That's like 5 millimeters.
Yeah. 5 millimeters is like 5 millimeters.
5 millimeters is like 5 millimeters. Ooh, so let me see. It would go lower. So that might have the effect of, yeah, putting that spacer back underneath it. So this might actually...
I might have to lower my bars when I lower my bottom bracket.
Yeah.
If I've really nailed my bar position.
Yeah. Yeah. Grips.
I'm running the McCaskills.
Nice. I bought a pair to switch them. It's interesting. I think the Santa Cruz branded grips are 1-ups.
Okay.
I think they're they have that. I actually do kind of like the
waffling or
the waffling on your fingertips.
They're comfortable, but I find them to be squishy in a rotational way.
Sure.
Which I don't love.
Right.
In other words, I don't want them to squish in a way that allows for my wrists to rotate if I'm gripping the bars tight.
Right. Don't grip the bot so tight.
Unless you're trying to make sure your wrists don't
twist, right? So I think I'm going to switch that. I would like to try the 160 race face bars.
760.
760, sorry. Ooh, 155 cranks.
That's what comes on it.
That's what comes on it.
I don't hate them.
I would love to go to 150 on it on the e-bike.
Yes, I would try that as well.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I'm a 155 pedal bike rider for now.
For now, I like how you said that.
I've been putting some time on my pedal bike, and 150 versus 155.
I think I've gotten used to the 150s to where I'm good with them for pedal bike.
Right. Let's see what else. Anything else on that front? It has made me keep on thinking about what part of the finger do you brake with? For a long time, I would brake with like the finger pad underneath my fingernail.
Right, the part in front of the first knuckle.
Correct. And it wasn't until I moved my hand from hanging off the edge of the bar to, this is very recent, from hanging off the edge of the bar to fully on the bar, that I moved more towards just under somewhere between the first knuckle and the second knuckle.
Right.
But I think I'm closer to the first knuckle than I am to the second knuckle.
Okay.
And yep, that's where I'm at. And so as you bring that in,
maybe bring your levers in a little bit further.
Right.
I think I'm centered between the first knuckle and the second knuckle. So right centered on the middle section of the finger.
Does it start there and end there? Because I actually think I start with it a little bit closer to the first knuckle and
it's true, as you flex the lever in, it wraps tighter.
I think it ends up being closer to the middle.
I think if I'm gripping it hard, like flexing the lever towards the bar, for me it ends up closer to the crease.
Second knuckle.
The third, or
right,
the
middle,
closer to my hand.
Right.
Yeah, I think I slightly. I was kind of like talking about how like the better riders I know use like the part of their finger closer to their hand for braking.
Yeah, we were in the shop. We were talking about that. Pretty like spirited, in a good natured way.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean you can't be fast using your fingertips. It doesn't mean no fast riders use their fingertips. But
did it cause a little friction?
I don't know. Maybe.
It didn't cause friction with me.
But I do think that you probably have more control of your bike and brakes doing it how you're doing it now.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you do?
I think so. I think one, it just takes a little, it took a little getting used to, but once you're used to it, there's one less tiny minor little thing about keeping your finger on the brake.
I think there's less hand pump.
Yeah.
And better brake modulation.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I do agree that there's less hand pump. You're more like fully gripped rather than, and that's better, I think. More of your hand is engaged.
I also think leverage is different.
Yeah. Rather than here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. But I wonder if that actually is, if you need to do something like fine motor, use your fingertip, not your.
I do think that is the kind of instinctive reason why some people are prone towards their fingertips, because they feel like they're going to have more control.
Yep.
But I think when it comes to the full equation of having to grip the bars at the same time,
right,
and of also how braking mechanics actually work, because it is a fine action.
Yeah.
But it's not that kind of fine. I agree that the end of the finger is really good for fine work.
Right. But the brake action may not need that type of fine work at the tip of the finger.
Yeah. And yes. And it just puts you more out. It puts you further from full fist on bars.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is something we've talked about before, but I think every rider should, and you got to be careful with this because it could be dangerous.
Right.
But find a spot where it's not dangerous, where you have time to get back on the brakes before you get too much speed on a downhill.
Right.
And tackle a section that you've been having a little bit of trouble with.
Right.
Without your fingers on the brakes.
Right.
with full fists on bars, and it's mind-blowing how much better of a rider you are.
Yeah.
Like you're a better rider. Like if you take your fingers off the brakes and wrap your full fist around the bars, you get smoother, you get more powerful.
Right.
Um,
And it's not because you're gripping. It's not because you're afraid.
Well, part of it is that you don't have to worry about accidentally hitting the brakes.
Right.
So you can really move around.
Yep.
But part of it is that this is a strong position.
Right.
And as one finger gets pried away by the brake lever to reach for it, the further away it gets,
Right.
I think you lose something.
I would agree with that. How do you like, it's interesting. I was talking with Eric, another Eric that we ride with. He was on the show, about the Mavens.
I was just thinking that this is we haven't really, this is kind of the first era where either of us has put a lot of time on Mavens.
Right.
I'm really impressed.
Okay. How so?
I like the lever shake. The ergonomics are good.
Yep.
In the position, in the distance that I want the levers from the bars when they engage, the levers are fairly close to parallel to the bar, which I like.
Right.
That I can get the levers to the distance that I want.
Yep.
They feel good in that sense. The power is really impressive.
Yeah.
They're very powerful.
I think that has to do with like arm fatigue, less arm fatigue.
The consistency is good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there is some bite point. There's
Wandering.
like a light, maybe sometimes a little bit, although I feel like that's gotten better. But the consistency of the power is awesome.
It's incredible.
So it doesn't fade and it doesn't have a lot of up and down, and very predictable and very powerful
for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's trails like Tombstone.
Yeah.
There are significant sections of that trail where I think, again, I'm sure people do it, but I can't see myself being off the brakes.
I think if I was building a bike and I just had to pick some brakes off the shelf, I would probably get the TRP Pros.
Yeah.
I haven't ridden them yet, but I have the old TRPs and I like them. The new ones seem better. But I am not mad that the Mavens are on the bike. I'm not like thinking about taking them off. I'm not like, oh, I need to get some TRPs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would completely agree with you. I think that the brake pads that come on the stock, at least that came on the Vala, were organic.
Okay. The Bullit comes with metallic pads, which I don't love. And that is the one time they're sometimes not real consistent, is the metallic pads when they're not hot, and if they're a little dusty, they squeal.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they're not hot, they might not always quite have full power, especially if they're dusty.
Right.
So like at the beginning of a ride, sometimes I feel like they do lack power.
Right.
And they're loud, sometimes loud, but overall, it's like one of the better metallic brake pad experiences I've had. I'll probably put organic in them at some point.
Don't forget to clean your rotors.
I'd say
change them.
Going from metallic to organic, you don't usually have to change your rotors. Going from organic to metallic, you usually do.
I changed mine. I did a pretty good scrubbing of my rotors with the rubbing alcohol, and I went from organic to metallic on my Vala, and it seems to be fine.
Cool.
So maybe I'm lucky.
Yeah.
The Mavens.
But metallic to organic, you said, right? Or organic to metallic.
I went organic to metallic. So maybe I am lucky on that.
I think so.
Yeah. You mentioned the TRP Pros. I would really like to try those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fixed the only complaint anyone had about those brakes, which is the levers positioning and shape.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do actually want to try. Maybe I'll just try putting the Freedom Coast levers on the Mavens.
Very similar concept,
Yeah,
and they look cool.
yeah, yeah.
Wait, but also I don't feel like the Mavens really need it the way the original
that's true.
TRPs
No, you're
did.
right. You're right.
Although
Yeah,
I bet they could. I bet they make it even better.
Yeah, the TRP Pro. Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting brake to try. Yeah, let's go ride.
Yeah.
Let's ride.
I emailed Nikolai to see if we could sell their bikes with the pinion gearboxes.
Ooh, okay.
They let me know that spring 2026 is the soonest they plan to be in the U.S. market. So we'll be in talks with them. But
E-bike,
anyone
downhill.
they're doing. The reason I'm interested is the pinion gearbox
Yeah.
e-bike.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting.
something I'm just kind of interested in.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's a long ways from now. Also, the other thing everyone's kind of curious about is the DJI, right?
Oh yeah,
And
totally.
Two interesting things happened with that this last couple of weeks. One was a customer brought one in for us to build.
Whoa.
They had imported it themselves they had gone to China, bought it, and shipped it to themselves.
Wow.
So they know they have essentially no support for now.
Right.
We assembled it for them. It seemed kind of cool.
Right.
We got to ride it. And then
They come back to pick it up. It's all dusty and tires are half worn through.
well, interestingly enough, not long after that, some people from Amflow came in, which is owned by DJI, I think,
Yeah.
and has used their motors.
Right.
They had a bike with them. We got to check it out.
Whoa.
Um,
Did you get to ride it in the trail?
no.
Right.
That might happen still. I asked them if they could leave it with me at some point, and they didn't say no.
Right.
So that might happen. It's fast. It's light. The bike felt pretty XC. It didn't feel real and it was creaky.
not as quiet as.
I mean, the suspension had a creak in it.
Oh, I see.
So maybe that's just that one.
Where
But that's kind of the concern. I feel like it's very difficult to come into this industry and account for all the stress factors.
right.
Because even people who have experience with all the stress factors sometimes have a hard time keeping up
for
with
sure.
that. Whether it's water or dust or torque or the loading and unloading and all that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Twisting.
So what are the specs going to be? What are the specs on the DJI?
I think it's 110 Newton meters.
110 Newton meters. Yeah, that sounds right. It's the lightest motor on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Was it lighter than a Fazua?
Mm,
It's the lightest full power motor.
lightest full power. Yeah, it's interesting. Having talked with, who's the Bosch? Our last episode,
Brian,
and all the factors that go into like the motor and the battery and how that fits in with the bike itself, the bikes and the current technology, wear and tear and the likes.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that Bosch Gen 5 full power motor, it is something else.
Oh, yeah. Wait till you try it in July with the power update.
Yeah. The power update, as well as the more I've been thinking about, and folks have been listening to the podcast, the ability to have the Tour Plus, the EMTB Plus, and being able to set the different profiles on those two modes, actually any of the modes, is going to be amazing. I would really like to. This is again Eric's idea. When we get to the point that release is going to be in July, comes out along with the 100 Newton meters that comes out, it'd be cool to see people who've been testing this out for a while, what do their customizations look like?
Yeah.
You know, screenshot some of that if we could. And
I'm just going to turn mine all the way up.
Right. Speaking of all the way up, you know, we've often talked about what would it take to full boost Harding to Joplin just all the way in full power. And I'm fully convinced that the Bullit with the 600 watt hour battery and a PowerMore 250 watt hour range extender can do that and then some.
Oh, for sure.
Like
I almost think you could do it without the range extender.
I don't think you could do it in full boost the whole time.
You could come close.
I don't know.
How many feet of climbing is it?
I think it's like 4,800, 4,700. And it's 26 miles.
I think you'd have to turn it down a little bit, but I think you could still have like a lot of help.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I bet you could be in
purple the whole time.
Purple and red and blue, just like a nice mix.
Right. I agree. I did 5,400 feet and 28 miles almost with the range extender. And I think I might have had 10 to 15% left. Admittedly, I got scared when I clicked down to a single bar and I was still at the top of Two Monkeys, but that's because I kind of got lost in the fog. I went back and forth up and down Skyline a little bit. So, but yeah, that was, I was like, man, you could do, so that ride was 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think if it had been fully boosting, that's going to be easily under 2 hours. Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I didn't realize that driving from Orange County back around to the other side, to the Corona side, it's only like 30 minutes with no traffic.
Yeah. Yep.
Admittedly, the neighborhoods look way different than it did back then.
Yeah.
But it's only like 30 minutes. It's only like 10 minutes farther than if you drive from this side to Black Star.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And if you go to that side, you could get immediate access to all your, favorite things.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's do it before it gets too hot.
Yeah, for sure. And with the rain that we just had, I think it's going to be amazing. We didn't even do any shop news.
I know, I have a little bit, but first I want to share some thoughts I've been having on SL Motors.
Okay, let's go for it.
I'm just going to say some numbers.
Okay.
Okay, so we get caught up in torque. And torque matters.
Yeah.
But there's also watts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some numbers. TQ motor.
Okay.
50 newton meters of torque, 300 watts.
Okay.
The newest Kenevo SL.
Yep.
50 newton meters of torque, 320 watts.
Okay.
Fazua. 60 newton meters of torque, 450 watts.
Oh, interesting.
It's a lot more watts.
It is.
And it feels faster.
It does.
So that's just an interesting little note.
It is, yeah.
Bosch SX.
Yep.
55 newton meters of torque, 600 watts.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Wow.
And when you ride that Performance SX, it feels peppy.
Yeah, it does.
It feels sometimes at least as peppy as the Fazua with more torque.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Sometimes peppier. And that's what it is.
It's the peak
right.
power.
Right. It has the same peak power as the
full power
as the CX.
So that's like once you get it up to pedaling speed,
it's fast.
It's fast.
Now, if they do a power update on that bike, what are they going to make the watts? Maybe that goes up to 750. Maybe the torque goes up to 70 or even 85. I mean, how cool would it be with a motor that light putting out what what 6 months ago you and I would have considered not just full power, but full power with a lot of watts.
Yeah. What if they made it even 70?
Yeah, 70 seems like a pretty like something that could happen.
That might make me keep that bike.
Right. So by that bike, Eric means his Norco Fluid VLT, which we have on sale at the Path Bike Shop
Thank you.
for like 30% off or something.
Jeez.
Your bike is on sale for I think like $6,000. Sorry.
Thanks. Now, really, maybe I'll keep it. Just have to wait until all the sale bikes get sold.
Well, I do think that, that's funny that you say that because I was trying to decide if I was going to keep my Vala now that I have my Bullit.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
I think, yeah.
I just feel like I just want to ride the Bullit.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is like, I was so stoked on my Vala, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, I said more than one time, and I really, really meant it. This is the best e-bike I've ever had.
And you were like, maybe I don't need the relay.
Right. But so I'm going to sell the Vala, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
Because I happen to know that XO Valas are sold out right now.
Oh, wow.
And people like that bike.
Yeah.
And I also believe that we're going to we recently saw a price increase from Pivot. We recently saw a price increase from Giant. We recently saw a price increase from
Santa Cruz?
Not yet. I believe Santa Cruz is going to be June 15th.
Wow.
So I think there's going to be a new higher price for that bike before Santa Cruz has them in stock again.
Right. Yeah.
And they're going to be hard to get. And like I have customers calling for that bike and I don't have it to sell. So I'm like, maybe I'll wait just like maybe till the price goes up.
Right. A month and a half.
And I also have been in the shop. We've been somewhat stocking up on bikes and helmets and shoes.
Right.
Because things are looking.
You're like a toilet paper hoarder.
Well,
I'm kidding.
It's more like Target buying extra toilet paper in 2020.
Right, exactly. They should have been buying it in January.
Right. I like shuttle LTs. There's XO level shuttle LTs are sold out for the summer.
Oh man.
XO level bullets are like sold out for the summer.
Oh man.
It's already
It's starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's stressful
for you as
it's a lot. Trying to make sure that we're going to have stuff for our riders in the busy times in the summer.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, if someone
the good news is the
someone comes in looking for a Vala or a fluid VLT, give me a holler.
Yeah, and the used bike market's been getting worse every year since 2022.
Right.
And so now it's going the other way for sure.
Yeah.
So people who are selling their used bikes, there's hope. People who have lost hope, you should regain hope.
Right.
Yeah, it's been weird. Like, we had all these sale bikes we were buying.
Right.
Like, we had 2024 Wilds for 30% off. We ordered some and then sold them and got more and ordered some and sold. They're gone. Man. All those Trances that we had on sale, gone.
Jeez. And you can't get more.
That's what I mean when I say gone. We have like in a lot of cases we're down to like small and extra large. In some cases we have medium and large. All of the scores that we were getting on sale, we still have some, but they're gone.
Oh,
we can't get more. All of the so like whether it's something that has been on sale for a while or something that's new, like they're just running out. It's interesting. It's like, and I think for the last. In 2022, everyone made too many bikes, and whether you were Specialized or Santa Cruz or Pivot or Transition or just any bike brand, you ordered less in 2023, and then it was still too many. And you put them on sale, and they didn't sell as well as they should have, even on sale.
Yeah.
Then you ordered even less in 2024. In 2024, it was still too many.
Right.
Everyone had a sale. They put them on sale, but in 2024, as soon as people started putting stuff on sale, they started selling out on it.
Right.
Like Santa Cruz had a sale in 2024, and like the Bullits and the bikes they put on sale were gone pretty quick.
Yeah.
Unlike the previous 2 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a lot of people canceled orders or are waiting on orders now because they don't want to be the one getting stuck with a high import cost, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
so it's wild.
Yeah.
Shop news?
Shop news. Well, that was a good transition because that was kind of shop news.
It is. Yeah. And, you know, some of our competitors are like running ads and doing posts about like buy a bike now before the price increases. And we're not doing that. This conversation is the closest we've come to doing that.
Right.
But I will just say this, for the last 2 to 3 years, for 2022 and 2023 and somewhat in 2024, although this was less true in 2024, if you waited to buy the bike you wanted, you got a better deal.
Right.
And people knew that.
Right.
In 2024, it started to switch to if you waited to buy the bike you want, it was gone.
Right.
In 2025, that trend continues. Like the bikes that are on sale sell out.
Yep.
But the new thing is you wait to buy it, and it's more. If you can get it.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, prices are going up, and supply is going down.
Right. I have some more shop news.
Yes.
I see the things that you're actually stocking up on too are fenders.
So I've resisted the fender trend.
Yep.
I come from a time before we did that.
Yeah.
And it's been hard for me to get on board with it. Like
Right.
I like how the bikes look with fenders, but I also like how they look without fenders.
Yeah.
And like when I think of my bike, it doesn't have a fender.
Right.
But you know, I've got the ass guy on the front of that bike,
Yeah.
and it kicks up more dirt
Yeah,
than
it does.
the Minion DHF.
Sure.
And on the last ride, it was like really misty, slightly drizzly.
Yeah, totally.
And there was a lot of stuff getting kicked up into my eyes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm getting a fender. And today I came to the path and I got a fender.
Nice.
And I'm going to go home and put it on my Bullit. I got the Fox branded one that just goes on there.
Yeah. I came in the other day because I put a fender on my 38 and I really like it. And I came in looking for the Zeb fender and you didn't have it this past weekend, but looks like you got some in.
There you go.
I think I'm gonna get one. Because I definitely could have used it this weekend. I mean, don't get me wrong. Well, a lot of it was really foggy, almost rainy, but it made the trails amazing conditions. Did I tell you about a trail called Tombstone? Okay, I'll stop.
You love it.
I did.
I'm
I
glad
love
you're
it.
excited about that trail.
I am. Well, and here's the thing. For a while, I was doing this loop of Black Star single tracks, 2 monkeys, back up, down to single tracks.
Yep.
And that's like...
We did that together.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like an hour and 30 minutes, and that's cool. If you're really pushing it, you can do it in like under an hour and 20. So this past weekend, I said, well, what's it like to do Black Star, Tombstone, back up, 2 monkeys, and out? And I really think for about an extra 30 minutes, you could get that ride.
Between driving and...
No, just ride time. It's just about 30 minutes longer, and you get that descent into Corona. It's so crazy how much extra descending you get on that and excitement for 30 minutes. Or you could drop, for even less time, you could even drop a rowdier trail. That's actually going to be the move.
I love it.
That's what we should do. I always miss the entrance to that trail. Yeah. So.
Over the Hump's been back the last few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
It's been awesome. Steve and the crew have been out there. Check out our video on YouTube.
Yep. That's
Steve
a cool video.
Recap video.
Yep. It's a great video. Good work on that, Steve.
Upcoming races.
By the way, I heard that it went through super sport and expert or whatever went through Limestone.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
is
very
really
cool. That's a beautiful area.
Across the street, go to Limestone. I don't know if that's going to be every race, but I think it is going to come back. And I think it's not the beginner loop either.
Right. Upcoming races at Over the Hump, May 20th, June 10th, June 17th, June 24th, and July 1st.
Fantastic.
Congrats to all the Vision Quest finishers.
Oh, yeah.
That happened.
That happened this past weekend.
Yep, nice work. Beautiful tradition.
They rode a great trail called Tombstone.
Shop rides are back in full effect. Thursday shop rides, come ride with Jeff and Drew and the crew.
I hear that's some good times.
Yes, there's always good stories and good laughter about it. 5:30 after work on Thursdays. Look on our website for when. The last one was at Irvine Regional to Oaks.
Fantastic.
Women's Wednesday, every other Wednesday. May 14th is the next one.
I seriously want to just go observe that ride because it sounds so awesome.
You can't.
I know.
And then the next, it looks like there's going to be May 15th. The Thursday shop ride is going to be at Canyon View Park at Aliso.
Okay,
so that'll be fun.
Yep.
And then we've added a monthly social pace ride. It's kind of like a semi-beginner ride.
Okay.
The last one was up, and then I think Black Star, and they went and checked out like the spot where the rocks have been carved out for grinding up acorns and stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So that's a good ride for people who are more getting into it or want just more adventure and less gnar.
Yep.
And the next one of those is May 31st at the Fullerton Loop with Dorothy and Dawn.
Oh, fantastic.
Right?
Yeah. The Fully Loop.
Fully.
And Dorothy and Don are amazing.
They're awesome.
They are. Yeah.
So that's exciting. I think that might be a podcast.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks, Auk. Let's all remember to love the bike we ride.